The sky above Thessera Prime blazed with impossible colors. Purple and green fire cascaded from orbit as Krylov warships tore through the planet's defenses like tissue paper. In the capital city's command center, General Vorth watched his world collapse across a dozen flickering screens. All defensive platforms destroyed, an officer reported, his voice trembling. The orbital ring is gone. They're targeting surface installations now. Vorth closed his 4 eyes, feeling his heart sink into despair. Thessera Prime possessed the second most powerful military in the known galaxy. They had prepared for this invasion for months, watching the Krylov hegemony sweep through the outer rim like a plague. 47 worlds had fallen to these conquerors. 47 civilizations brought to their knees. Thessera Prime was supposed to be different. They had energy shields capable of withstanding nuclear strikes. They had quantum-linked defense grids. They had 3 million soldiers ready to die for their world. The battle had lasted 4 hours. Send a surrender signal. Vorth said quietly, each word tasting like ash. On the bridge of the hegemony flagship Eternal Dominion, War Master Zethus watched the enemy's white flag materialize on his displays. His lipless mouth curved into something resembling a smile. The Krylov were tall, skeletal creatures covered in obsidian scales. Their eyes glowed crimson in the bridge's dim lighting. Another world kneels, Zethus said to his second-in-command. Log the time. 4 hours and 17 minutes from first contact to surrender. Acceptable. The Thesserans had a formidable reputation, the second-in-command observed. Yet they fell as easily as the others. Zethus nodded slowly. Fear is our greatest weapon. They knew what happened to those who resisted. They understood resistance was futile. This knowledge breaks them before we fire the first shot. He walked to the star map, dominating the center of his bridge. Dozens of worlds glowed crimson, marking hegemony conquests. Zethus studied the remaining independent systems, his claw tapping rhythmically against the holographic display. The Terran fringe, he said finally. These humans, what do we know? An intelligence officer brought up new data. A young species, War Master. They've only possessed faster-than-light travel for 200 years. Their technology is outdated by our standards. They control 23 colony worlds, most resource-poor. Military strength is minimal. Their fleet is spread thin, protecting shipping lanes from pirates. They've never fought a major war against another spacefaring species. Zethus studied the human territory. It was small, tucked into a forgotten corner of the galaxy that nobody wanted. The world were described as barely habitable in the reports. Thin atmospheres, hostile weather, minimal precious metals. Why did they settle such inhospitable worlds? Zethus asked. The intelligence officer made a gesture equivalent to a shrug. Our analysts believe humans possess an unusually high tolerance for hardship. They seem to prefer challenging themselves rather than seeking comfort. Foolish, Zethus said, but it matters little. We will add their worlds to the hegemony. Assign battle group 7 to the human campaign. That should be more than sufficient. Battle group 7, War Master? That's only 12 ships. These humans are primitives. Zethus replied dismissively. We conquered Thessera Prime with 15 ships. The humans will surrender even faster, perhaps in 2 or 3 hours. The order propagated across the hegemony communication network. Battle Group 7 received his assignment and began the journey toward human space. They expected an easy victory. They expected another quick surrender. They had no idea what was coming. 3 days away from the nearest military outpost, Captain Sarah Chun was having a spectacularly bad morning. The Pelican's Gambit had suffered a coolant leak in Cargo Hold 3, and the automatic repair systems had decided this was the perfect time to malfunction. Woo! Please tell me you can fix this without venting the entire hold into space, Sarah said into her communicator. Her chief engineer's voice crackled back. I can fix it, Captain, but you're not going to like how. I never like how. Just do it. Sarah Chung was 42 years old and had been flying cargo ships since she was 19. The Gambit was her 3rd ship and by far the oldest. The vessel was 60 years old, built before Sarah was even born. Its hull was covered in patches and welds. Its engines made concerning noises. Its life support system had moods, but it was her ship, and she loved it. Sarah settled into the captain's chair and reviewed their route. They were hauling mining equipment to New Coventry, a remote colony specializing in rare mineral extraction. Boring work, but it paid the bills. Her crew of 8 were good people, experienced spacers who knew how to handle an aging ship. The bridge door opened, and her first officer, James Park, entered with 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use this," he said, handing her one. "You're a saint," Sarah replied, taking a grateful sip. "How's the cargo?" "Secure. Wu says he'll have the coolant leak fixed in an hour." James paused. "We're getting some strange reports on the long-range channels." "Strange how?" James pulled up the communication logs on his tablet. "Distress signals from the inner colonies. Something about an invasion fleet. It's probably nothing. You know how rumors spread." Sarah felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. "Show me." The reports were fragmented and difficult to verify, but they all conveyed the same message. An alien fleet had entered human space. Multiple colonies had gone dark. Ships sent to investigate hadn't returned. "This is the Kryloth hegemony," Sarah said quietly. "It has to be. I've been following the news from the Outer Rim. They've been conquering everything in their path." "Surely our military can handle them," James said, but his voice lacked conviction. Sarah pulled up a star map and felt her blood run cold. "Our fleet is weeks away. They're deployed in the far reaches dealing with pirate activity." She zoomed in on the map, tracing possible invasion routes. If the hegemony comes to the Tanis corridor, there's nothing between them and Earth. How long until they reach the core worlds? If they move fast, a week, maybe less. James set down his coffee cup. "What do we do?" Sarah looked at her worn, patched, barely functioning cargo ship. She looked at the route to safety. Then she looked at the map showing the Tanis corridor, the narrow passage that led to humanity's heart. "Get me Admiral Holland on the command frequency," she said, "and tell the crew to prepare for a course change." "Where are we going?" Sarah's jaw tightened. "To buy humanity some time." 3 days later, War Master Zethus received his first report from a human campaign. Battle Group 7 had entered the Tanis corridor and was making excellent progress. For human colonies had been neutralized without resistance. The populations had evacuated before the hegemony arrived. "They run," Zethus observed. "Like all prey species, they abandon their nests and flee." The humans appeared to be retreating toward their core worlds, his intelligence officer reported. "We're following the only viable hyperspace route through this region. At current speed, we'll reach their primary worlds in 72 hours. "And their military response?" "None yet. We believe their fleet is still days away from an effective defensive position." Zethus felt a flicker of disappointment. He had hoped for at least token resistance, some small battle to relieve the monotony. But these humans seemed content to simply run away. "Continue the advance," he ordered. "Let's finish this campaign and move on to more interesting conquests." But as Battle Group 7 approached the Epsilon Gate, the narrow gravitational choke point in the Tanis corridor, Zethus' sensors detected something unexpected. A single ship waited in their path. One small, old cargo hauler. Zethus stared at the display, confused. "Is this a malfunction?" "No, War Master. We're receiving a transmission from the vessel. Put it through." A human female's voice filled the bridge, speaking accented but clear hegemony standard. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Terran vessel Pelican's Gambit. You are entering Terran space without authorization. Turn back now or be destroyed." For a moment, Zethus couldn't process what he was hearing. Then he began to laugh. His officers joined him, the bridge filling with harsh Kryloth laughter. One cargo ship against 12 warships. One human against the hegemony. "This should be amusing," Zethus said. Rear Admiral Marcus Holland stared at the tactical display in the Terran Defense Force Command Center and felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on his shoulders. The news was worse than anyone had imagined. "Confirm those numbers," he said to his intelligence officer. "Confirmed, sir. The Kryloth hegemony has deployed a battle group into human space. 12 warships. They've already neutralized 4 outer colonies without firing a shot. The colonists evacuated before they arrived. Smart, Holland muttered. No point dying for empty buildings. What's their heading? They're following the Tanis corridor, sir. It's the only practical hyperspace route to our core worlds. They'll reach the Epsilon Gate in approximately 18 hours. Holland pulled up detailed scans of the Epsilon Gate. It was a natural gravitational anomaly, a narrow point where ships had to drop out of hyperspace and navigate carefully through intense gravity fields. It was like a doorway, and once the hegemony passed through it, nothing stood between them and 14 human colonies, including Earth. Where's our fleet? Holland asked, though he already knew the answer. 3 weeks away, sir. Admiral Chen's battle group is engaged in anti-piracy operations in the far reaches. They received a recall order an hour ago, but even at maximum speed, they can't arrive in less than 21 days. 3 weeks. The hegemony would burn through human space in 3 days at their current pace. Holland's hands clenched into fists. We need someone at the Epsilon Gate. Someone to slow them down, make them cautious, buy us time for the fleet to return. Sir, we don't have any military assets in that region. The nearest patrol ship is 48 hours away. Then put out a general call. Holland said, any ship, military, civilian, I don't care. We need someone to hold that gate for 72 hours. His second-in-command looked at him with undisguised horror. Sir, you're asking someone to commit suicide against those warships. Any lone vessel will be destroyed in minutes. I know what I'm asking, Holland said quietly. But if nobody holds that line, billions of people will die. Send a message. Make the offer clear. No sugarcoating. They'll be facing impossible odds. The message went out across all frequencies, encrypted military channels, and open civilian bands. It was short and brutal in its honesty. This is Rear Admiral Marcus Holland of the Terran Defense Force. We need a ship to hold the Epsilon Gate against enemy forces for 72 hours. This is a volunteer mission. The odds of survival are 0, but you'll be saving humanity. Any ship in range, please respond. For 5 minutes, there was only silence. Then a voice crackled over the communication channel. Female, calm, with a hint of dry humor. Admiral Holland, this is Captain Sarah Chun of the cargo vessel Pelican's Gambit. We're 4 hours from the Epsilon Gate. We'll hold your line. Holland felt his throat tighten. Captain Chun, did you understand the message? This is a one-way trip. I understand perfectly, Admiral. My crew voted. 8 votes for, 0 against. We're already adjusting course. Captain, I need to be clear. You'll be facing 12 hegemony warships. These are the same forces that crushed Thessera Prime in 4 hours. Your ship is... An old cargo hauler held together with duct tape and hope, Sarah finished. Yeah, I know, but someone has to try, right? Might as well be us. Holland pulled up the Gambit's registry. 60 years old. No weapons beyond basic point defense. Maximum crew of 10, currently carrying 8. It was less a warship and more a flying warehouse. Godspeed, Captain Chun, Holland said. Humanity won't forget what you're doing. Just make sure you show up in 72 hours, Admiral. We'll try to leave some enemies for you to shoot. The communication ended. Holland sat down heavily in his chair and put his head in his hands. He had just sent 8 civilians to their deaths. But they just might, save billions. Aboard the Pelican's Gambit, Sarah gathered her crew in the small galley. All 8 of them crammed around a table, faces grim but determined. You all heard the message, Sarah said. This is your last chance to change your minds. We can drop anyone at the nearest station. No judgment. This is a volunteer mission, and that means you can choose not to volunteer. Marcus Wu, the chief engineer, snorted. Captain, I've been flying with you for 12 years. If you think I'm going to let you fly into a suicide mission without someone to keep your engines running, you're out of your mind. I'm staying, said James Park, the first officer. Me too, added Elena Rodriguez, the navigator. One by one, every crew member confirmed. They were staying. They were fighting. Sarah felt her eyes burn with unshed tears. All right, then let's figure out how a cargo ship takes on a battle fleet. The planning session lasted 3 hours. They couldn't win through firepower. That much was obvious. The Gambit had industrial lasers meant for cutting asteroids, some mining charges, and basic point defense systems designed to shoot down small debris against military-grade shield and armor. These weapons would be like throwing rocks at a tank. We need to think differently, Sarah said. We can't fight like a warship. We need to fight like what we are. A garbage scow? Wu suggested with dark humor. A civilian ship that knows every dirty trick in the book, Sarah corrected. We've outrun pirates, navigated asteroid fields, survived equipment failures in deep space. We know how to improvise. Elena pulled up detailed scans of the Epsilon Gate. The gravitational fields here are intense and chaotic. Military ships hate this kind of environment because it interferes with their targeting systems and tactical coordination, but we've navigated worse. We use the environment as a weapon, James said slowly. We know this terrain. They don't. Sarah nodded. Exactly. And we don't fight fair. We don't follow military doctrine. We do whatever it takes to survive one more minute. Wu disappeared into the engineering sections and returned hours later with a frightening list of modifications. They stripped the mining charges from the cargo holds and rigged them as improvised mines. They boosted the power on the industrial lasers by bypassing safety systems. They reprogrammed the point defense to fire longer bursts, even though it would burn out the systems faster. I'm cannibalizing the escape pods, Wu announced. We can reroute their reactor cores to give us a 30% boost in power. We won't have any escape pods left, Sarah pointed out. Wu met her eyes. Captain, we both know nobody's escaping this. Might as well use the resources where they matter. Sarah wanted to argue, but he was right. She nodded. The Gambit arrived at the Epsilon Gate with 2 hours to spare. Sarah positioned the ship carefully in the center of the gravitational channel, right where enemy ships would have to pass. She released dozens of cargo containers filled with metal debris and reflective materials, creating a field of sensor-confusing clutter. It's not much, Elena said, looking at their preparations. No, Sarah agreed, but it's what we have. Everyone to stations. Check your suits. Once the shooting starts, we'll be taking hull breaches. The crew dispersed. Sarah sat in her captain's chair and pulled up a picture on her personal screen. Her daughter, smiling, standing in front of her university. 22 years old now, studying to be a teacher. She lived on Earth. I'm doing this for you, baby, Sarah whispered. The sensors began screaming. 12 massive signatures dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the gate. The hegemony had arrived. Sarah opened the communication channel. She'd practiced a speech in her head for the last few hours, trying to sound confident, trying to sound like someone who could stop an invasion fleet. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Terran vessel Pelican's Gambit. You are entering Terran space without authorization. Turn back now or be destroyed. For a long moment, there was no response. Then Sarah heard it. Laughter. Harsh alien laughter filling her communication channel. A translated voice spoke, dripping with contempt. One cargo ship threatens hegemony? This is amusing. I am War Master Zethus. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death. Sarah smiled grimly. You want us? Come and get us. She cut the channel and turned to her crew. Here we go. Remember the plan. We survive 1 minute at a time. Make every second count. On the tactical display, one of the hegemony destroyers broke formation and accelerated toward them. The battle for Epsilon Gate had begun. Sarah's hands flew across her controls. Elena, plot a course through Grid 7. Wu, I need those lasers ready to fire on my mark. Ready, Captain. The destroyer closed the weapon's range and opened fire. Energy bolts streaked through space, brilliant and deadly. Sarah yanked the Gambit hard to starboard, using the gravitational eddies of the gate to pull them into an unexpected angle. The enemy fire missed by 50 meters. Their targeting computers aren't compensating for gravity fluctuations, James reported. They're fighting by their sensors, not their instincts. Then let's make their sensors useless, Sarah said. She triggered one of the prepared cargo containers. It exploded, releasing a cloud of reflective chaff that scattered the destroyer's targeting beams. In the confusion, Sarah brought the Gambit in close, dangerously close, so close she could see details on the enemy hull. Woo, now! The industrial lasers fired, not at the destroyer's shields, but at the magnetic mines they'd planted on debris floating in the chaff field. The mines activated, pulled toward the destroyer's metal hull by their magnetic locks, and detonated. The explosion wasn't large enough to destroy the warship, but it didn't need to be. The shaped charges were directed at the destroyer's engine section. Secondary explosions rippled across the stern. The ship's propulsion failed, leaving it drifting helplessly. First one down, James said quietly. War Master Zethus stared at the disabled destroyer and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Surprise. Not fear, not yet, but genuine surprise. Report, he demanded. His tactical officer scrambled to analyze the battle. The human vessel used magnetic mines attached to debris. They lured our destroyer close, then activated the mines. Our commander didn't detect the trap until too late. One cargo ship just disabled a hegemony destroyer, Zethus said slowly. One cargo ship. To be fair, War Master, the destroyer is only disabled, not destroyed. Zethus's clawed hand slammed down on his command console. Disabled is destroyed in the middle of enemy territory. That ship is deadweight now. Its crew is stranded. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to think tactically. This human captain is clever. She knows she can't win through conventional combat, so she's using traps and tricks. Should we proceed with caution, War Master? No, Zethus decided. We overwhelm her with numbers. Send 3 ships. Approach from different vectors. She can't trap all 3 at once. 3 hegemony cruisers advanced on the Pelican's Gambit. They moved carefully now, scanning for mines and debris traps. Their shields were at maximum power. Sarah watched them come and felt sweat running down her back despite the ship's cold temperature. 3 at once. Her first trap had worked because the enemy was overconfident. They wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Woo! How's our reactor holding up? She asked. We're running at 115% of rated capacity. I can push it to 120 for short bursts, but much more, and we risk a containment breach. We'll take what we can get. Elena, I need a microjump calculation. Her navigator's face went pale. Captain, microjumps this close to a gravitational anomaly are insane. The equations alone could take hours to calculate safely. You have 3 minutes, Sarah said. And it doesn't have to be safe. It just has to work once. Elena's fingers flew across a console, pulling up hyperspace calculations that would make any military navigator refuse the assignment. Microjumps were short-range hyperspace hops, usually only a few thousand kilometers. Near a gravitational anomaly like the Epsilon Gate, the risk of catastrophic failure was nearly 100%. Got something, Elena said. Maybe. Probably. There's a 60% chance we make it. 30% chance we get torn apart in hyperspace. 10% chance we miss our exit point and end up halfway across the galaxy. I'll take those odds, Sarah said. Everyone secure. The 3 cruisers opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams lanced through space, targeting the Gambit from 3 different angles. Sarah waited until the last possible second, until her shields were screaming and her hull was starting to heat up from near misses. Jump, she shouted. The Gambit flickered and vanished. For one terrible second, Sarah felt the universe twist around her. The ship shook so violently her teeth rattled. Alarm screamed. Something in the engineering section exploded. Then they dropped back into normal space, directly behind one of the cruisers. Weapons range, James reported. Their rear shields are weaker. Sarah didn't hesitate. She dumped emergency power to the industrial lasers and fired everything they had. The focus beams, designed to cut through solid rock, sliced into the cruiser's engine section. The enemy ship tried to turn, but Sarah was already moving, using the gravitational currents to slingshot around the crippled vessel. Venting reactor plasma, Wu announced. The Gambit released a cloud of superheated gas from its damage systems, creating a blinding fog that confused sensors and blocked targeting. The second cruiser fired blind, hitting its own damaged companion instead of the Gambit. 2 down, Sarah muttered. 1 more. But the third cruiser had anticipated her move. It was already in position, weapons locked. Sarah saw the energy build up and knew she couldn't dodge in time. Brace for impact. The beam hit the Gambit amidships. Shields failed instantly. Armor plating melted. Atmosphere vented from 3 compartments. The ship spun wildly, tumbling through space. Sarah fought the controls, barely managing to activate emergency thrusters. Damage report. We've lost cargo sections 2 and 4. James called out. Hull breaches on decks 1 and 3. Medical bay is gone. Point defense is offline. Casualties. A long pause. Chun and Martinez were in the medical bay. Sarah felt her heart sink. 2 dead already. She'd known it was coming, but knowing didn't make it easier. Seal those sections. Woo, can we still fight? Give me 5 minutes to reroute power around the damage systems. You have 3. The remaining cruiser was circling, preparing for a kill shot. Sarah used what little maneuvering power she had left to hide behind a floating piece of debris, buying time. War Master Zethus watched the tactical display with growing frustration. His 3 cruisers had engaged the cargo hauler. 2 were now disabled or destroyed. The third was taking its time, preparing to finish the human ship properly. This is unacceptable, Zethus said. How is one primitive vessel causing this much damage? The human captain is not fighting rationally, his intelligence officer reported. She's taking risks that no military commander would take. The micro-jump alone should have been fatal. Our tactical computers rate its success probability at less than 0.001%. Then their computers are better than ours? No, War Master. According to our scans, their navigational computer is 60 years out of date. We believe the human calculated that jump manually. Zethus turned to stare at his officer. Manually? A hyperspace calculation with that many gravitational variables? That's impossible. Nevertheless, she did it. For the first time, Zethus felt a flutter of concern. This human captain was either incredibly lucky or incredibly skilled. Either way, she was dangerous. Send 2 more ships, he ordered. I want that cargo hauler destroyed. Now. Sarah counted the approaching signatures on her sensors. 5 ships total now, including the one that had damaged them. The odds were getting worse. Woo! Please tell me your good news. Define good, Wu replied. The lasers are back online. The reactor is stable. Assuming stable means held together by optimism and expired warning stickers. And I found 2 more mining charges we can use. That'll have to do. Elena, where's the nearest gravity well? 2,000 kilometers to port. It's a strong one. Sarah studied the approaching enemy formation. They were being more careful now, maintaining formation, covering each other's weak points. She couldn't pick them off one by one anymore. Time for a different approach. We're going to do something stupid, Sarah announced. Captain, James, I need you to aim our forward cameras at the lead ship and broadcast on all frequencies. Open channel, no encryption. Captain, trust me. Woo! Overload the reactor safeties. I want maximum power to engines, even if it means we blow up in 5 minutes. Done. We'll blow up in 5 minutes. Sarah took a deep breath and opened the communication channel. War Master Zethus, I'm guessing that's you in the lead ship. I've got a proposal. Zethus's translated voice came back immediately. You dare speak to me, human? I dare because I'm the one who just destroyed 3 of your ships. Sarah shot back. Here's the deal. You want to get through this gate. I want to stop you, but there's a third option neither of us has considered. And what option is that? Sarah smiled grimly. We both die right here, right now. I've overloaded my reactor. In 4 minutes, this ship is going to explode with enough force to destabilize the gravitational fields of this entire gate. The resulting collapse would destroy every ship in a 10,000-kilometer radius, including yours. It was a complete bluff. The Gambit's reactor didn't have nearly enough power to cause that kind of damage. But Zethus didn't know that. You're lying, Zethus said, but Sarah heard the uncertainty in his voice. Am I? Your sensors can see my reactor output. It's climbing. You know what happens when a fusion reactor goes critical near a gravitational anomaly. The cascade effect is unpredictable. Sarah let her words sink in. So here's my proposal. Turn around. Leave human space. And we all get to live. You would sacrifice your own life. In a heartbeat. That's what humans do. War Master. We protect our own. There was a long silence. Sarah watched her sensors, wondering if Zethus would call her bluff. Finally, the War Master spoke. You are either very brave or very foolish, human, but I did not rise to command by taking unnecessary risks. We will withdraw. For now. Smart choice, Sarah said, keeping her voice steady despite the relief flooding through her. The hegemony ships began to pull back, repositioning away from the gate. Woo! Shut down the reactor overload before we actually explode, Sarah said quietly. Already done, Captain. Though for the record, we were never going to explode. Best case scenario, we would have just lost power. They didn't need to know that. James was staring at her. Captain, they're actually withdrawing. You bluffed a battle fleet. Don't celebrate yet, Sarah warned. They'll be back once they realize I was lying. We bought ourselves maybe an hour. 2 at most. She checked the chronometer. They'd been holding the line for 8 hours. 64 more to go. Sarah leaned back in her chair and allowed herself 1 minute of rest. 2 crew members dead. Ship heavily damaged. Enemies temporarily retreated but certain to return. They'd survived the first engagement. Barely. Get some water. Check your suits. And pray. The reprieve lasted 90 minutes. Sarah spent every second of it preparing for what came next. Wu performed emergency repairs on hull breaches using spare plating and magnetic seals. Elena recalculated their position and mapped every gravitational eddy within 10,000 kilometers. James organized their remaining supplies and weapons. They had 2 mining charges left. The industrial lasers were functioning but operating at reduced capacity. Point defense was still offline. The reactor was stable but temperamental. Half their maneuvering thrusters were damaged. We're not going to last another fight like that last one, Wu said quietly as he worked on sealing a hull breach. Sarah didn't disagree. Then we make sure the next fight is different. How? I'm working on it. The sensors screamed a warning. The hegemony fleet was moving again, but this time they weren't sending 3 ships. They were sending 6, more than half their remaining force. War Master Zethus had decided to end this. All ships maintain formation. Zethus commanded, overlapping shields. Synchronized targeting. The human captain is clever, but she can't defeat mathematics. 6 ships firing together will overwhelm her defenses in seconds. His tactical officer nodded. We've analyzed all her previous tactics. We're ready for micro jumps, debris fields, reactor plasma dumps. We have countermeasures for everything. Then let's finish this. The 6 warships advanced in tight formation, covering each other's weaknesses. It was textbook military doctrine, the kind of coordinated assault that had crushed dozens of civilizations. Sarah watched them come and felt a desperate plan forming in her mind. It was insane. It probably wouldn't work. But nothing about this situation was sane anyway. Elena, I need you to plot a course that takes us through Gravity Well 7, then loops back around Gravity Well 12. Elena pulled up the calculations. Captain, that course would put us under stress forces that will tear the ship apart. The hull integrity is already compromised. We won't survive those gravitational shears. The hull won't survive, Sarah agreed. But we don't need the whole ship to survive. We just need the forward section, the bridge, and engines. Wu, can you set up an emergency separation of the cargo sections? Wu's eyes widened. You want to deliberately break the ship in half? I want to use the cargo sections as decoys while we maneuver the front section. Can you do it? It'll take time to set up the separation charges. You have 10 minutes. Wu ran for the engineering section. Elena continued plotting the course. shaking her head in disbelief. James checked the crew assignments. Captain, if we separate, anyone in the rear sections will be stranded. No life support. No navigation. I know, Sarah said quietly. Make sure everyone is in the forward sections before we separate. The remaining crew of 6 moved to the front of the ship. They sealed the bulkhead doors behind them, leaving the rear half of the Gambit empty and silent. Sarah tried not to think about the fact that she was about to destroy half her ship. The Gambit had been her home for 15 years. But homes could be rebuilt. People couldn't. Separation charges ready. We'll report it. Captain, are you sure about this? No, but we're doing it anyway. Everyone secure. This is going to get rough. The hegemony formation reached weapons range. 6 ships, all targeting the Gambit simultaneously. Enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. Fire, Zethus commanded. Energy beams lanced through space. Sarah triggered the separation charges at the same instant. The Gambit split in half with a shower of sparks and venting atmosphere. The rear sections tumbled away. The ship's running lights still active, looking like a wounded vessel trying to escape. 4 of the 6 hegemony ships tracked the larger target. Their automated systems followed the bigger mass signature. Their weapons fire converged on the empty cargo sections, reducing them to glowing debris. Meanwhile, Sarah pushed the forward half of the Gambit into a tight turn, diving directly into Gravity Well 7. The gravitational forces grabbed the smaller ship segment and slung it forward at incredible speed. Hull stress at 150%, Elena reported. Structural integrity failing. Hold together, Sarah muttered to her ship. Just a little longer. The 2 hegemony ships that had tracked the correct target fired, but their beams passed through empty space where the Gambit had been a second before. The gravitational slingshot had accelerated them beyond the enemy's targeting predictions. Sarah looped around Gravity Well 12 and came up behind the hegemony formation. Now, they had the advantage of position. Woo! Everything we have left. Fire. The industrial lasers open up, targeting the rearmost warship's engines. At the same time, Sarah released their last 2 mining charges, timing them to impact during the moment of confusion. One charge struck a glancing blow, barely denting shields. The second hit directly on a damaged section from an earlier fight. It punched through and detonated inside the hull. The warship's rear section exploded outward, not destroyed, but badly damaged and venting atmosphere. That's 4 disabled, James reported. 8 total enemy casualties. But Sarah wasn't celebrating. The remaining 5 ships were turning angry and focused. They had the Gambit pinned against the gravity well. No room to maneuver. No tricks left. All weapons depleted. Retry. This response paused because Claude reached its max length for a message. Hick continued to nudge Claude along. Continue.